The odds were pretty long when I was born in 1961 that I would be standing here in front of you. I'm not born to wealth or privilege. My father left when I was 2. I was raised by a single mom and my grandparents, and they gave me love and they gave me education. They gave me hope. So yes, I talk about hope all the time. I talk about, I put hope on my signs. I talked about hope in the 2004 convention. I wrote a book called The Audacity of Hope. But I noticed during the course of this campaign, people have been derisive, scornful, teased me about hope. Oh, he's talking about hope again. He's so naive. His head is in the clouds. He's a hope monger. And you know, we saw it 2 days ago in the debate. One of my opponents said, "Oh, you know, stop giving people false hopes about what we can accomplish." False hopes. False hopes. There's no such thing. This country was built on it. What is JFK looking up at the moon and saying, false hope, too far. Reality check, can't do it. Dr. King standing on the steps of Lincoln Memorial looking out over that magnificent crowd, the reflecting pool, the Washington Monument. Sorry guys, false hope. The dream will die. It can't be done. False hope. We don't need leaders to tell us what we can't do. We need those who can inspire us to do. To say yes we can. To say we believe. That's what America's looking for right now. That's our message of change. I'm telling you that this campaign, if anything crystallized what this campaign is about, it was that right there. Because some are thinking in terms of our constraints. And some are thinking about our limitless possibilities. And the American people are tired of hearing about why we have to be divided, and why we have to shout at each other, and why children have to be poor, and why folks have to not have health care, and why we've got to live in a politics of fear all the time, and why we have to be afraid of each other. People are tired of that. You know, people misperceive the nature of hope. They think it's being naive, engaging in wishful thinking, just sitting on your couch waiting for good things to happen to you without working for it, without fighting for it, shirking from your responsibilities. That's not what hope is. Hope isn't ignoring the roadblocks and the challenges in front of you. Hope's just the opposite. I know how hard it's going to be to deliver on health care reform. I know that solving a planetary crisis is not going to be simple. I understand that fixing our schools, helping children in inner cities and rural communities who are already behind at the age of 5 or 6 or 8, those things don't lend themselves to easy repair. I know that because I fought on the streets as an organizer. I have fought in the courtrooms as a civil rights attorney for those who've been denied opportunity on the job or access to the ballot. I have seen good legislation die because good intentions were not enough, because the powerful held sway and people with wonderful ideas lacked the political will or didn't have the political majority to get things done. I've seen this country led into war by fear and falsehood. I know it can work if nobody has the courage to stand up and ask the tough questions before our troops are sent into fight. I know it's tough. You know it's tough. But I also know this, that everything meaningful in this country has been accomplished because somebody, somewhere, stood up and believed. They chose to believe in something that others said was impossible. That's what the colonists did. They threw off the British Empire. Nobody was putting their money on them. That's what the slaves and the abolitionists did, resisting that evil system. That's what a president did when he charted a difficult path to ensure that this nation would no longer be half slave and half free. That's what the greatest generation did. My grandparents, grandfather fighting in Patton's army in Europe, my grandmother back home with a baby working on a bomber assembly line. That's what they did. Defeating fascism, rising up out of the Great Depression. That's what women did when they decided we belong at the table of democracy. We need the right to vote. That's what workers did when they organized despite violence, despite intimidation. Pinkerton thugs organized into unions to make sure that not just they, but other workers would have a minimum wage and overtime and benefits they could count on. That's what those young people did as they traveled down south and marched and sat in at lunch counters and suffered fire hoses and beatings and attack dogs, and some gave up their life for freedom's cause. That's what hope is. That's what hope is. That's what hope is. Imagining and then working for and fighting for what didn't seem possible before.